Sentai is cancelled. Keep it up and you will lose New Year's. Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. The sky is falling yet again. Super Sentai is cancelled for the 50th year in a row. But there is apparently a semi-official, not report, well I guess report, I don't know, but a semi-official rumor, I guess I'll call it, that Sentai will end with Gozyuger. Now there has been Sentai's canceled rumors legitimately since I first got into Sentai and became like aware of the news about it and all that stuff. Like literally every year, if the trademark wasn't there, letter to the line of last year, Sentai is canceled. There was also that brief period of time where they thought Metal Hero was gonna replace it, and by they I mean the fandom doomsayers. So this has been a rumor like all the time, and I roll my eyes every time I see it. It's like, guys, we go through this every year, seriously. But this time there might be a little bit more concrete stuff about it. I'll be honest, I don't think it's happening the way you think, but it's kind of interesting because I remember there being language when Gozyuger was announced, and I can't remember whether it was in the press releases or the series description or the kind of language in the episode 0 about like, oh, it's the final battle, it's all culminating into this, it's the end or whatever, and you had people speculating it was going to be the end of Super Sentai, and yet again I rolled my eyes because, I mean, this isn't necessarily a fandom exclusive problem for Sentai, but it happens in a lot of fandoms, whether it's movies or shows or whatever. You know, the slightest little thing has people thinking it's going to be canceled. You know, we just had that with Doctor Who. You know, they just finally announced it's going to be coming back for Christmas, but everyone was doomsaying since like the beginning of season 1. So it's like a common fandom problem to be like, oh, it's gonna be canceled. I just dismissed that stuff in the early Gozyuger language. Again, I don't remember where it came from. I don't remember whether it was the press release or the trailer or whatever. But I'm just like, it's probably just part of the series. They're gonna continue on. I will say though, it is kind of interesting to think back on them forcing the changing about celebrating the anniversaries. Like, I know it's the 50th year, I know. But they always did the anniversary seasons on the season. They would do stuff sometimes on the number. You know, I think like Ninja and Gozyuger both were like anniversaries technically because one of them was the 40th year, one of them was the 40th season. So I know technically it is the 50th year to celebrate, but they made a big deal about them changing the way they celebrate the anniversaries. And they said it was to like desync it with Sentai or some stuff or whatever. But if it was the last year, it would make sense why they'd want to do that. Why they would want to move it up and do like a big anniversary season where you have all these past suits and everything. I'm not saying, oh, for sure that's evidence it's 100% canceled. I'm just thinking that is kind of interesting that they did that shift specifically so they could do an anniversary season, especially since it's so close to the previous anniversary season compared to how close Zenkaiger was to Gokaiger. Now I know Gozyuger was technically an anniversary season, but you know what I mean. When I say anniversary season, I think you know what I mean. It means the season to incorporate like the anniversary storyline type thing into the show, not one that happens to land on an anniversary and they do a movie or a two-part or something. And so that was very, not suspicious because they've been anniversary crazy for a decade now, and we've had legacy content in some form since Zenkaiger. Almost every series has included some sort of Gokai change or forced past cameo. So it wasn't necessarily a surprise outside of cancellation rumors that they would want to find a way to be like, hey, let's get to the anniversary as fast as possible. And I was even thinking, there's no way they're not going to do something for the 50th season. Like, there probably will be some sort of legacy content in there. And it's funny because I was just recently thinking, because I'm not so hot on Gozyuger, like I'm actually really excited to get the new Sentai trademark. I don't remember when we always get it. I've never been a person that's been like, oh, if it's not the same week or the same day, it's canceled. But we're getting pretty close to when we usually would get it, and I was excited for it. And I was like, I wonder if they are going to do some legacy content because it's the 50th season, or if they'll shuffle it off to a movie. And I'm in that era now where I'm more accepting of it, which is why I'm not as mad at Gozyuger, but it's kind of rough. But you know what I mean. So I'm like, if they do something anniversary related next year, fine, just make it good and not what Gozyuger is. But I was also hoping for just kind of a fresh start, run-of-the-mill season. In fact, I saw a rumor a little while ago that about a card-based Magic season or something. I didn't talk about it because it was just a rumor. You know, Sentai rumors of the seasons fly around all the time. But I was just thinking, like, I'm really excited to get a fresh start and to talk about the Sentai scans. And then I was looking to see if there's any news, and this news popped up. Now again, like I said at the top, I don't think it's what we think. There's multiple people also saying that this is kind of like misleading and it's kind of like a half-truth where technically Sentai would end, but it's going to have something of a rebranding. I don't know what that's going to look like. Like, is it still going to have the Super Sentai name in it and then just have like a secondary title or have something else Sentai? Like, not super ultra Sentai. I don't know. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I just can't see this being fully true. Like, I'm gonna put a little snippet up from the article I read. Like, I couldn't find where the original news was. Like, it was just a bunch of different news articles and a bunch of different quote tweets. So I just, Googled, and one of the first ones of a site I recognize, I think, is Anime News Network, and I'll put up a little snippet, and it says the reason it's happening is because the profits basically from everything aren't enough to justify making the show, which we've heard that like Sentai's been in trouble-ish the last few years. Again, it's hard to decipher what's true and what's not because it's always being rumored to be canceled by the fans, but we have heard that like the profits haven't been as good, which is why you see them cutting costs on certain things. Like, we don't get full team power-ups because they couldn't afford to make things for everybody. We don't get as many Megazord releases, stuff like that. And you can kind of see where they cut corners in certain areas compared to Rider. It feels like Rider's not, I was going to say Rider isn't in as big a trouble, but Rider I don't think is in trouble because they're doing this whole push for like, simulcast and everything. So I think Rider's doing fine. So it's weird because I think it's a mix of things that feel true because I think that Sentai has been on a bit of a decline or at least a bumpy road these last few years. And then of course, like I said, them moving it up, the anniversary stuff, it would make sense that they would want to do that. But I just don't see this being fully true. It's just been such a staple and they always find a way to keep it around. I really do think it might be something of a rebranding. That makes me really curious. Like, if it is something of a rebranding, and it's basically still Sentai, but maybe we're wiping the slate a little bit clean. I don't know what that would look like either. That makes me kind of excited because even though if they just business as usual and this is all white noise, season 50, they do anniversary stuff, I'm not going to be pissed, but I just want it to be good. But it would be nice to have something back to basics where we're not doing all this shallow anniversary content, or maybe not back to basics, but sort of a mix of back to basics and something new where it's a little bit more grounded feeling. I don't mean that like dialing back the fantasy elements, but just, more normal feeling and not this weird Gozyuger stuff, cameo stuff, but maybe something of a different flavor. Although, to be fair, Sentai's been pretty experimental for quite a long time now. You have many, like Q-Ranger with a ton of Rangers, you have Loopat Versus series, you have like the oddity of the Boom Boonger suits. King Odru had not as different suits as some of them, but more experimental looking suits with a more serialized storyline. So there have been more back to basics series like Ryu Soldier and Kara Major, but they've been pretty experimental in comparison to Rider, which is extremely formulaic in a lot of ways. I mean, tokusatsu in general is, but you know what I mean. Like, Sentai has been far more experimental with like the format in terms of like how many Rangers and stuff and what stories that leads to. But I would be all for something of a refresh in something monotonous like this. But I will say, if this is true and Sentai really is ending for now in terms of this format, or even if there's no rebranding or whatever, just for me personally, what a sad note to go out on with Gozyuger. Like, I know it's like big celebrating and you have all these past suits coming back and, past designs and the Zord builder, so technically it feels like more of a celebration than just like ending on a Boom Boonger or something. But I mean, it's just not a great show, man. I've been trying and I was really hyped at the beginning, but it's just so hollow. I was thinking about this the other day too, where it feels like the premise of like a lot of the series feels like a YouTube short they would put on like the Tokusatsu Network or something that's meant to be just a 10-15 minute fun thing, not to be taken all that seriously, but that's the whole show. It just feels so hollow and annoying, and it's a shame because they have a cool suit, a cool premise, like the beginning setup, what could have been a really awesome anniversary series. And if you're gonna go out, it sucks that you wouldn't have more of a real good celebration because it would probably cost more to get a bunch of cameos. But it would be nice to have something like that and go with that idea of the more past characters coming back as like weird variants, and rather than it being suit cameos. Like, if this is the last season, and instead of having cameos of returning characters, and instead, literally that's all tokusatsu cameos are sometimes, it's just suit cameo. It's an empty suit. So, final thoughts, guys, and I might do more videos on this as it develops. No, I will do more videos on as it develops. By that, I just meant that like I might talk on this topic more before we get more news, but I don't think it's going to be technically canceled. I think that it's going to be rebranded. I think that's probably the truth. Or I think this could just be the classic rumors that come up every year. It just has a little bit more credence this year. I personally don't think it's fully going anywhere. But what do you guys think? I recommend, which a lot of people probably won't follow the advice, but just be patient and see what happens. But anyways, guys, until next time, Dawson Ryder signing out.